The international terror group ISIS is reportedly advancing on a Christian town in northern Syria. Sadad is a small town on the corridor that runs from the capital city Damascus to Homs. It is a mostly Christian town with multiple churches and Christian relics. By the way, the people there speak ancient Aramaic, the language of Jesus. CBN Chief International Correspondent Gary Lane has been in the vicinity of Sadad in his travels in Syria. Gary, thank you for coming on the show. What can you tell us about this town?
Well, as you said, it is an ancient Assyrian community, a Christian community. They speak Aramaic, which is the ancient language of Jesus. Not many communities, George, still speak Aramaic. And it's a very strategic town because it's near the highway.
And talk about the population. How many people are we talking about live in this town?
We're talking about 3,500, depending on the war situation. Many have fled. At one time, I think there were as many as 10,000 people there. But ISIS is closing in. They're only about 7 miles to the east of that city in a town called Maheen.
And incidentally, this is a town that was once taken over by Islamic terrorists before.
About 2 years ago it was, and about 50 Christians were killed at that time, and a mass grave was also found in that city.
What's likely to happen if ISIS takes over?
Well, look, we've seen it before, have we not? Remember Malula about 2 years ago, the city of a Christian town of Malula. Al-Nusra came in and they took over the churches. I don't think Al-Nusra destroyed the churches in Malula. But if you remember correctly, every place else they've gone, they've destroyed churches. They want to eliminate any sign of Christianity, bring down crosses, destroy artifacts, and that type of thing.
My understanding is that there is a Christian militia in Sadad. Yes. What's the possibility that they can hold off and protect the city from ISIS?
Sadad does have a Christian militia, as do many other cities in the north, especially Christian towns. But will they be enough? It just depends on what ISIS brings in there. If they have heavy artillery, other things that they have seized from the army and use that against them, will they be able to hold them off? It just depends on what they bring in.
And talk about this because it is a strategic town between Homs and the capital city, Damascus. You were telling me right before the interview, it's probably about 5 to maybe 15 miles to the main highway between Homs and Damascus. What's the strategic importance if ISIS does in fact cut off and capture this town?
Yes, and George, if you look at a map, on the map, it's probably only about 30 to 40 miles south of Homs and maybe 60 to 70 miles north of Damascus, right off the highway. That is a very strategic corridor. It's a supply route. If they come into the town and then move right out to the highway, they can control that highway and the flow of anything military in and out of that area.
And talk about the relationship that Bashar al-Assad, the president of Syria, has had with Christians historically. You mentioned Malula, a Christian town. When it was taken over, the Assad regime went in and protected them and got the terrorists out. Do you think they will do the same here?
Well, they did it 2 years ago in this town. They went in shortly after al-Nusra came in, and they defeated them and retook the city. Yes, I think they will do that. This regime values the Christian support. It has protected Christians over the years and will continue to do so if it's able to.
And is there a sense that, that Christians in Syria are continuing to support the Assad regime, or are they in a precarious situation?
I think, George, initially it was, well, we're not going to take sides in this. That was about 4 years ago, maybe even 3 years ago. Now I think it has shifted. You're seeing the Christians realize, wait a minute, these other guys are not going to protect us the way that Assad has. And yes, many of them have taken sides with the regime.
Let's shift gears here to another terror group that is making headlines this week. Ayman al-Zawahiri, the top man of Al-Qaeda, releases an audio tape this week basically calling for a jihadi alliance against the satanic enemies. They're saying basically that the Muslims of the world need to combine their forces and go after Russia, Iran, as well as the United States. Tell us about this audio tape.
Hezbollah and Europe, anyone who is involved actually in this war that is not considered their ally. But you know, George, as well as I do, you've traveled a lot in the Middle East. There's an old saying in the Middle East, me and my cousin against one another. We fight one another, but me and my cousin against all the others. So when there is a common enemy, they will go after that common enemy. And that's what Zawahiri is trying to do, is to unite them, bring them together against their common enemy.
And what's interesting is that Ayman al-Zawahiri just a few months ago came out lambasting ISIS and the leader, the Caliph, al-Baghdadi, the leader of ISIS.
He still says that.
And so there is friction between Al-Qaeda and ISIS.
See, I don't really see how this is going to be united, because there is friction between the two. Too many differences. Zawahiri does not accept the fact that ISIS has a caliphate. He will not accept the caliphate. He will not accept the caliph. So that makes a big difference.
Yeah, okay, terrific. Lots of news happening around the world. As always, you are always on top of it. Folks, thank you so much for joining us. Please continue to tune into cbnnews.com, as well as on our social media, Twitter and Facebook. We will continue to update on the latest of this town that is potentially in the firing line of ISIS. Gary Lane, as always,
Christian town.
Christian town. Thank you so much. As always, sir, thank you for your insights.